Let me. So, hi everyone. Welcome to 100 Surat MuleSoft Meetup. And the topic for today's meetup is importance of semantic agent in the world of data mesh and the API-led connectivity. And Amir is the speaker for today's meetup. I know, everybody knows the Amir. He's a solution engineer in the MuleSoft. He will going to introduce more when he will talk. Okay. So I will just go with some slides. So I will start with the safe harbor statement. Both the speaker and host are organizing this meetup in the individual capacity. We are not representing any organization here. The presentation is strictly for learning purpose. We are not holding any responsibility whether the same solution will work for your business requirement. The presentation is not meant for any promotional activity. It is completely or it is just for the learning purpose. Okay, so we will going to upload the recording of the meetup within the 24 hours. So you can find the recording on the event page. You can submit, you can ask the question at any time. We generally enable the presenter mode for each and every person. So if you want, either you can just unmute yourself and just ask the question, or you can put the question on the chat window and try to make the session more interactive as possible. Give us the feedback. We always look for feedback from you. So generally we would love to get the feedback from you so we can do the better in the upcoming meetups. Okay, the organizer for this meetup, myself, Jitendra Bafna, and Nitish Jain. So I just want to thanks Nitish, like you have been always, one of the great co-leader or co-meetup leader. So thanks for that. Thanks, Nitish. Nitish, would you like to introduce yourself or just I skip it?
Yeah, we always keep like, okay, let me do this time. This is 100th one, so it's
Yeah.
special one. Okay, hi everyone. Firstly, thanks all of you for joining today's meetup. We are celebrating the 100th one, and I'm Nitish Jain. I work as senior integration engineer at Growth Arc Technologies, Bangalore, India, and I'm MuleSoft ambassador. 7+ years in MuleSoft now, and certified MuleSoft dev architect. So yeah, that's all from me. Thank you.
Yeah.
You can proceed.
So I'm Jitendra Bapna. Like I have overall 19 plus years of experience, and I'm a MuleSoft ambassador, MuleSoft meetup leader for multiple groups. Right. I am also author a book called MuleSoft Platform Architect Guide. Yeah, that's all about me. Currently, I'm working as a senior solution architect at EPM Systems. Okay, I'll go to next slide. This is one of the important slide. So without them, this 100 meter would not possible. So I just want to thanks Sabrina Marshall, who is the director of MuleSoft community. I want to thank Sabrina Hockett, like who is managing the community advocacy, and she's the marketing manager of the MuleSoft. Isabella, she's the community manager of the MuleSoft, and Sydney Lee, is a community program manager at the MuleSoft. So I just want to thanks them. Without them, this 100 meter would have not been possible. The kind of support we get, from this. So yeah. So Nitish, would you want to add something like?
Sure. So today's meetup, as we all know, it's special. So we'll be having quiz, and since Jackie already said everything, that we'll be giving 5 vouchers for attendees. There'll be a quiz, and also we'll be sending the t-shirts to the winners, like 5 vouchers and 5 t-shirts. But the only criteria is for t-shirts that the winner should be in India and of metro city, so that we can send it.
Yeah,
And
and
also
also, yeah,
the
go ahead.
books. So Jackie will be giving his books. Everyone knows how special those are. So 2 books he's giving us to the winners. And for the books, there'll be a separate quiz. Jackie can ask in between of event. So please be active. Do not go. You can ask any point of time. It will be from the session, and quiz will be running at the end.
Yeah. Okay, and also it's just some history about Surat MuleSoft Meetup. So I think the first meetup was officially done on the 2nd May 2020, and like we have around 3,200 members as a part of Surat MuleSoft community, right? And we are the first meetup group to complete a 50 MuleSoft meetup. Some of the key highlight. So I already delivered almost 51 session as a part of Surat MuleSoft community, right? So almost 51, then we have a higher checking, which is almost 128 participants for the session called MuleSoft and the Salesforce design and integration pattern. We also have almost 556 registration for one of the session where async API process error circuit breaker, and the canary deployment, where we have almost more than 550 registration. So this is some of the key highlights and some of the achievements for the Surat MuleSoft Meetup group. Okay, I just want to thanks to all our incredible MuleSoft community, kind of passion, dedication, and support we got from the amazing people across the community. Where it is very thankful to them, and I just want to thanks to all the speaker who have contributed to the MuleSoft Meetup group and who are contributing to the MuleSoft community and educating and the sharing their knowledge. You know, and I just want to thanks all the moderators who have been who have moderate the Surat MuleSoft meetups. Like participants, like without participant we would have never be a success, right? So it's always, we always seen like we always seen there are a lot of people are joining the Surat MuleSoft meetup, and I just want to thanks to all the participants who are joining the Surat MuleSoft meetups and like MuleSoft community. And last but not least, I just want to thanks MuleSoft community, like so thanks without MuleSoft community it would have not possible, we would have completed the 100 MuleSoft meetup. Just I will close with some kind of uh, some kind of what I will say, some slogan like together we learn, together we grow, together we build the MuleSoft community, right? Yeah. And these are some events, like if you see from starting in 2020 we don't have a much of the event. In 2021 we have a lot of event between 2021 and 2022. Then if you see in 2025, in last 3 4 months we have a lot of events, right? So if you see the graph has been always increase, right? Yeah, now now the uh, Amir Khan is the speaker for today's meetup, and I will just hand over the session to the Amir, like he can take it from here. So I will just unshare my screen, and again I just want to thanks everyone to be part of Surat MuleSoft Meetup group, and I just want to thanks Amir, to accept our invitation and for 100 Surat MuleSoft Meetup. Thank you so much for that.
So my pleasure, my pleasure. Hi everyone, and again, congratulations, Jackie and Nitish for this amazing number, first century ever, right?
Yeah.
So I think if we would be in cricket, you are the first team to achieve it, the first century 100 runs, and hopefully you go for the 200 now, as you promised.
Thank you.
Just some fun facts before we dive in. I joined MuleSoft 4.5 years ago, and I have to say, Jitendra, you are a legend, because when I wanted to learn something, it was your videos, which you have covered almost any topic. So it's not, I think it's obvious that you get the first 100 here as a meetup. You are the leader of Surat. So congratulations. And I think it has been a remarkable journey. You are such a role model for all MuleSoft community members. Every piece you have put out, somebody can learn from it. I personally learned a lot from your videos, from your blogs, and I'm pretty confident everyone in the call experienced the same.
Thanks, Amir, for such a kind word, right? Thank you so much for that.
My pleasure. All right. So for today's meeting, we just again to my person. I'm working as a solution engineer at MuleSoft. So I'm a MuleSoft employee working at Salesforce, and I've been quite active in the AI world in the last almost 1.5 year. Um, and this topic is evolving, right? So I had to also change it. Yesterday, I asked Jitendra to change the description slightly, and this is going to evolve further, because data mesh is a topic which is, I think, changing the way how companies are thinking about data. It's a very similar comparison if you look into the software development, when we used to have the waterfall approach, right? Like a phased approach with different 6 phases over a period of time, 16 to 20 months, where you have to deliver on a release. And this traditional waterfall approach has been transformed to agile to really meet the customer and user experiences, and now also furthermore into DevOps with smaller release cycles, development cycles, to reduce the delivery time. And a very similar mindset and culture is applied from data mesh. And we are going to dive a little bit into that topic. It was very popular, data mesh, before 2020. I think 2023, it was quite, yeah, it was at a peak, but then through the rise of Gen AI, it lost traction. And I believe now companies are coming back to that approach because there's value in it. And we are going to talk about how agents are going to operate in a world of data mesh and API led connectivity. Just to start with a simple recap on data mesh itself, um, giving back the ownership of data to people who are the owners, who understands the data, and these are the domains. So if you look into any organization, especially organization which exist more than 20 years in the business, they have huge data, and you have mainly two parties. One is the operational transactional party, and the other one is the analytical party, also known in some of the regions as run the business, change the business, optimize the business. And the optimization part requires some time to be validated, because the operational part is the part of source where data is being extracted into the optimization bucket. So I call this operational bucket and analytical bucket. And analytical bucket is basically the bucket where you identify the patterns to improve the business. You have these ML engines, artificial intelligence, very big amount of data which is being validated, and new aspects and patterns are detected to improve the current running business, come up with innovations, identify pattern to improve whatever is coming in the future. So this is a mindset where, which was very traditional, and data mesh came to life by Zamak Degani, who is the founder of this concept, to change it, to make the innovation on the data side of things, and really introduce agile mindset to reduce the time of delivery in terms of optimizing the business, and time of delivery in terms of analytical data. So what shift it does is it tend to transform into a domain driven approach from very large canonical data model into a more smaller, aligned to domains, technology, and data type of approach, where you are moving away from something which is centrally managed, like the C4E. It's the same approach. It's center for enablement, and before you transform from center of excellence into center for enablement by becoming the enabler for your business, for your organization. A very similar mindset is applied here. You're going away from something which is centrally managed just because it's technology, to something where is federated and owned by people who understand the data. So it's moving away from data pipelines to data products. And I am sure every one of you know what API product is. So this is a very similar evolution to data which happened by promoting data products, moving away from something which is task oriented to something which is outcome oriented, and really thinking about how you can merge the operational business and optimization business into one hub. So you don't need two separate data hub. It's all one. It's one business. It's one organization, and this is one team which takes care about operational transactional data and analytical data. So moving away from isolation into domain driven product mindset. That's the main goal. And the uh, main principle to apply these goals is that you switch to a domain ownership. So it means if you have a marketing domain, they should care about the marketing data in terms of analytical point of view, because the transactional data is already transformed, right? So the transactional teams have been transformed, the transactional approaches have been transformed. Look at waterfall to DevOps, or monolith to API products. This is already something which is in place, but the data, the big data part is now coming together as well. So domain ownership is needed. Data need to become a product, and as a product, it requires a life cycle. As a product, it should also be able to be discovered through a self-service platform and should have a federated governance. Um, these are the four principles which made data mesh become reality. So it's not just about technology, it's a big mindset shift in culture, the way organization works. And of course, technology can help. And MuleSoft is one of those technologies which are contributing, enabling data mesh architecture. But with, with just technology, you won't make it right. So you need to also think about how you can shift from that centralized approach to a domain driven data mindset, data driven organization approach. So these four principles was there to um, bring data mesh to life. And if we go into our API-led connectivity, right? So this is an animated slide, and I will be animating and explaining this. I think the API-led part I won't explain in detail because you are the expert here. But here's the legend, right? So you have API and integration. The MuleSoft logo stands here for any type of pattern, any type of integration pattern which exists in an architecture. You have few dependency. We are going to talk about it. Data product itself and the domain, which is also owning the responsibilities. And the operational data lives in the system of records, right? So you have Salesforce, SAP, Microsoft, whatever. With API-led, we had these three layers: system layer, unifying the system interaction; process layer, applying the logic and making it ready for experiences where you have different types of APIs you build upon. And data mesh is built in a very similar layered approach, where you have first of all the layer which is source aligned domain data, right? So where is this data sourced from? This is where you're building the products from the analytical point of view. Then you have the aggregated domain data, very similar to the process API, where you aggregate and bring it into a context of a certain process from an analytical point of view. And finally, consumer aligned domain data. If you want to have some forecast for a sales team prepared in terms of analytic, that would be then the consumer aligned part. And the domain data products are in the ownership of domains. And here I've tried to visualize it with this yellow circle. Purchasing could be a domain where you have already operational APIs interacting here. You have master data could be a subdomain, a domain ordering, and these domains will be working on certain types of products which are in their ownership. They will define what the analytical point of view for these product look like: sales order, accounts, invoices, and this is pretty much mapped to the source aligned system domain data. And the APIs which you have built so far, the system APIs, they are going to contribute towards the data product. So if you have ever looked into the data mesh, into the data product anatomy, the data product is built with input ports, right? So you source data from certain systems, certain input. This could be APIs, but this could be also other data products which are acting as an input to a certain data product here. And this data product is then sourcing from these endpoints. So the APIs you have been building in the system API layer can be those types of input ports acting as the data provider for the data products. And then these data products also have output ports, right? So where you are fetching the data, the prepared data, which has been built with the domain knowledge, is sourced from here, from one or multiple output ports. These can be APIs, but these can be also asynchronous patterns or even SQL, access, views, whatever technology you want to promote there. So that's why MuleSoft is contributing towards it. It's not a data mesh platform. Um, but this is not the context for today, right? So this is just setting the scene for what's coming. And then you have the aggregated domain data, where you have, again, data products, different types on a higher level, where you aggregate and bring it into a context. And finally, you have this source aligned domain data. Maybe you want to create a sales forecast or B2B profitability for controlling, so they can source from it and get the analytical data prepared just for that specific part. And you have also the dependency between the domains, right? How you can make sure that these are not again isolated bunch of data products, but they are interconnected. And to interconnect these data products in terms of domain dependency, you also have to promote them into a portal. APIs are already promoted. APIs are already becoming or have been going through the life cycle of a product, so they are servable, self-service, and the same approach applies to data as a product. And this data product can have different types of serving points, mainly the output ports there and in which flavor you want to experience the data, because the data in this context is changing quite a lot. Compare this architecture with the two separate buckets we had in the beginning, where the data copy will already take a week until you get the final feedback on data or the requested report. It can take up to 2-3 weeks. Here it was quite fast, because now you are really having the ownership of data by the domain teams. They are owning the data and providing you with the products to serve the need of the requirements. So the self-service can be any type of output ports. You can have a text file, a REST API call, a view on a database, which can provide you the outcome you're looking for as a self-service. And finally, you have the data consumers. These are data engineers, developers, but also like developers in terms of application development, mobile development. They can also source and get served by these data products. And this was architecture which is, I've been evangelizing a lot around 2022, 2023. But then it was hit by the Gen AI wave, and it became quite silent, or I didn't see much traction there anymore, because Gen AI promised to solve the larger problem of data in the early excitement, that you don't need to think about this mind shift. Bring data into one bucket and Gen AI models will handle it. So that was the early promise, where you saw it. I think many organizations experienced this, where you collect data into one source and try to apply Gen AI patterns on top of it to serve the need. But you know, this was just a early excitement, I would say, and thank God we realized through experience that you need still that specific domain knowledge, because these models are good to POC, to pilot, maybe with a certain amount of data, but when you are looking really into patterns, it tend to hallucinate because of the system understanding of the data. And that's why data mesh is still needed, but we had to go through a certain evolution. And this certain evolution, I compare this with the Prometheus curve, taming the flame of Gen AI. When Gen AI 2003 was launched, ChatGPT 3.5, super excited. Everyone was playing with the sparking face, full of fascination. I was also one of those, tried it out in the early stages, and then the experimental phase started. I think this is where we are in right now, in the middle of the experimentation phase, and realizing already what you can do in terms of Gen AI, what is the efficiency you can gain, what are the productivity use cases. We have certain internal use cases, a lot of conversational use cases, chat use cases. You have now agentic use cases are coming up. You start seeing multi-agents becoming reality. Micro agents are being served. So still this exploration and experimental phase. We have this mastery phase coming up, I believe, and therefore you need to have certain pattern in your organization, which allows you to have that control and refinement. So you can not just play with fire, you can use it for cooking, right? So the meat or whatever you are cooking can taste better when you use Gen AI. In this case, it was fire. So this is the phase where we are going to experience, I think, in one of the next years innovation. And then you have the civilization phase where you say, okay, I can not only use it for cooking, I can also use it for, in the winter times, you can use fire to warm it up. And same will happen also with Gen AI and the agentic transformation, where we will integrate it and transform it into our daily life. It's already there, but I think these are smaller point use cases. There is much bigger to come, where many organizations are now working. You have seen MuleSoft with this amazing release of the agent fabric, to orchestrate multiple agents. But that's not everything, right? So we are going to leave that phase as well and learn from here. Um, so this also happened with data mesh. So now people, I've seen organization dropping the idea first of all of data mesh, and then going back to centralization and realizing, okay, that's not everything. We need to really provide context. We need to translate what it means to have data dependency. A big bucket of data doesn't solve the issue. So the domain expertise is still needed, going back again and doing that mind shift in terms of serving the data as product and preparing it to be ready for the agentic wave. Because you want to, at the end of the day, you want to avoid hallucination. You want to have accurate answers and stability, and not different types of answers. And this is where we need to understand how to best guide the AI agents to navigate through our infrastructures, to understand the context, to understand the dependency maybe the data may have with each other, and try to bring it into the relation what is being asked from the AI agent to to have the right type of answer ready. I'm just I just realized, when I'm in this talk, I talk. Any questions so far, team?
Amir, Ritika here.
Yeah, Ritika?
So, Amir, I'm already working on the Gen AI and automation space. So, what measures MuleSoft is implementing to prevent this hallucination and improve the accuracy and stability?
So MuleSoft is, I think, Salesforce as such, as a overall organization, is investing a lot in research to do certain testing. You have seen that Salesforce has released something we refer at semantic layer for data cloud. It's completely in data cloud, where you have different models, different types of data organized by their context, and then brought into the semantic layer to build that navigation within data cloud. And MuleSoft is also embracing these types of things. So we have released MCP for context awareness for the agents. But again, it's the starting phase, and MuleSoft will develop further as well. But MCP is a good area to look at, to provide the right context, to make sure that the agents can be more accurate. But this is also where currently nobody can talk about best practices, because in this early stage you will have good practices, and then they need to evolve. And the community members like you will provide us the feedback to think about best practices. But MCP, I believe, is one of those protocols to solve the need of accuracy and stability in terms of Gen AI and agents, to get it into the right direction. But still, experimental phase, we will explore and learn. But that's currently what MuleSoft and Salesforce especially is doing in this area.
Sure. Thanks, Amir. Because while the hype is already there, like each and every product is bringing Gen AI and agent capability. But when we work on the ground, then we get to know like what is the nitty gritty, what are the complexity, and how challenging it is for the developers.
Yes, absolutely. And I have even it will be a small demo, small show use case, but it is reflecting what is happening on the ground, because I did not, I learned this use case from a POC we were doing on MCP and AI agents. And this is where we will bring, we will showcase it later, but where semantics matters. Whatever the AI agents is discovering in terms of APIs or tools need to be understood by the agent. Otherwise, it's all, yeah, the buzz, and it will remain the buzz. Um, so this is what we will showcase. But absolutely agree, Ritika.
Sure. Thank you.
I have one question from my side, Amir. Like,
Hey Ajay,
yeah.
are you
Hey,
doing?
Amir. Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So I have one question. So I understand what you are explaining. So I see there is a pattern, right? Like each and every organization, like AWS, Salesforce, SAP, they, I think in after one or 2 year down the line, they will expose their data via MCP servers, right? Oh, I think all those major, I would say, products, right, will expose their data via MCP servers. So how the data mesh and that MCP will work together? Do we really need to do this data meshing at that point of time as well? Wherein I think, in my opinion, I think we can deal with we can like directly connect with the MCP servers and get the data what we want. So and perform the orchestration if we wanted to perform how does
Absolutely,
this kind of thing?
absolutely. So
Yeah.
data mesh is not needed in terms of solving the operational side of things, right? So like if you want to book some orders, update inventory, or whatever you want to do through the agent, that's possible. But if you want to achieve analytical reports, get me the last 2 years report on certain patterns, what was going on, analyzing the history, then you need data products. You can, of course, sort it out with some databases where you have collected this data. Um, but data mesh will bring things to context because it is providing the understanding of the domain encapsulated by the product, and it will be sourced in the same way through MCP like APIs are being sourced, right? But there's always this part of the context window. So you can request maybe from MCP, get me a certain report, which will maybe take 2 hours to generate because the data product requires this. But what you can do is you can build that tool to request a report. And once a report is generated, you can activate the agent to say, okay, notify me back or send me the link of the report via email. So it can be asynchronous as well, but it need to be treated exactly like APIs. And it's not necessarily needed to serve the operational piece of the data, which is stored in the system of records for you today. This is like completely bringing the overall organization's view together, having the operational and the analytical data together, but it's not needed when you're just looking at the operational data.
Yeah, I mean, there's one question from my end. There are a lot of discussion going on the MCP server, right? So wherever if you go with any, if you talk to the client or if we are talking with any organization, they are talking about the MCP server. So will with in next 5 or 6 years, will API will be replaced by the MCP server? There are a lot of things going across that, right? So a lot of people thinking the API will be replaced by MCP servers, right?
I don't think so that APIs will be replaced by MCP servers. They will contribute towards the agent tooling, which is represented via MCP. Um, but they are not going to be removed completely. You still need APIs to do your operational work. Of course, you will be adding agents on top of it, but it's the decision of the organization if the agent should have access to all the data, all the APIs. And that's where, the system landscape need to become agent ready. And the ownership of making something agent ready is at the domain level, at the people who knows the sensitivity of data, because you don't want your employee HR data to be handled by an agent. There is sensitive information in it. Your customers account data may be fully owned and handled by agents. This is something where organization will need to decide what is the level of agentic readiness in my system architecture, and only those data will be exposed through MCP, and APIs will
Correct.
play a critical role in exposing them. And what I also don't believe, currently we have a lot of these micro agents set up, where you have micro agents similar like a API but with an LLM infused and acting on top of it, one-to-one conversion of MCP tool and API endpoint. I think there need to be something more like a navigation system for agents. Think about, and I think we are not yet there, but think about, you have Google Maps. When you are in a car outside of your country, you want to visit a place, you don't know the route to it, right? So you need to enter in your GPS the route, and then it will give you exactly the route of that destination, and then your car is driving to, so you will make sure that your car drives on that route to reach that destination. And this is where organizations need to evolve. They need to become semantically enabled in order to provide that intelligent navigation to this entity of agents, so the agent can enter the organization and understand a domain. This is the street name, this is the place, and if the user asks me for this special place or data, this is the route I need to take in order to retrieve that data. So there will be certain innovations coming up in this direction. But currently, we are all thinking about hard coding agents with prompted, pre-promptation is something where you put determinism in the guidance of the agent, just to ensure that the agent is not hallucinating, but still it's not 100% accurate. Sometimes it can happen that it misses out the point. And to reduce that, I think we have to drop the agent building to be a first class citizen. We have to invest more in becoming semantically enabled in our organization, documenting the data, documenting why we have an ordering system, how the ordering system is related with the sales or CRM system, how does the marketing team plays a role here, what is the interconnection between these, instead of hard coding these type of knowledge into a agent template. That's, I think, will work for point use cases, yeah, smaller use cases. But the moment you try to scale, you will have an explosion of agents, and maybe that's not the right direction. This is just my personal point of view, where organization need to really first become semantically enabled and put semantic as the first class citizen, and then go into agent development, because agents need meaning, and meaning can only be provided through something which is semantic. And this is something where I think we are currently lacking in the market.
So, like in simple term, I will like if we, for example, I'm not saying we will have to replace the. If we are replacing API, then mobile, like for example, some mobile app, like mobile app is consuming API, right? So in
Yeah.
that case, if we replace with API, then mobile app has to contact the LLM, and LLM will contact MCP server, and MCP server will retrieve the data from backend. That is how it will look like, right, Amir?
Yeah, yeah. If you replace it with a MCP, you can always call a MCP via an HTTP endpoint. That's also possible,
Yeah,
right?
that is also possible. Yeah.
So I think it will be a, yeah, I don't believe in it that MCP is going to replace APIs. It will be
Yeah.
embracing it to provide the higher value for semantic enablement of agents.
Yeah. That is again hallucination.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So let's continue. So this is, we already talked about it. Meanwhile, everyone is building agents, right? So we will experience this. So you will have a lot of agents built by different teams, and we are already seeing this here with organization in the banking industry, in the financial industry, insurance industry, as well as telco and pharma. That it's not just about the agent building has become something which is a commodity, right? So you have different frameworks, you choose the framework of your choice, and at some point you have created that agent. But the next need would be to, how can you take that point value which the agent is providing to your teams and scale it up to an organization value, which is providing a higher value to the stream. And that's the question which we need to answer. And one of the innovations in this area is A2A protocol, right? The A2A came to make sure that agents can talk to each other in a defined format. So this, every interaction here is, can be represented as A to A. But in simple terms, what is A to A? As you can see in this meetup, we are speaking English, right? I'm pretty sure if I speak now in Hindi, majority will understand me, but probably not everyone, right? Because it's a different pattern, a different protocol. But A to A is our protocol, which is similar to English. So all agents understand the protocol. Yeah. But if everyone now speak English and unmute him herself and start speaking in English, we get chaos, right? And that's also what is here, a lot of noise which is created because the protocol is fine, but when you have a lot of agents being able to discover any other agent, that will end up again in hallucination, um, in noise which you don't want. So how can you organize this? And this is something where we suggested already back in May. You can solve this issue not with any type of protocol. You need to solve it with a pattern, a defined pattern. You can see here already, this is the initial term we use, agent interaction layer, but today this is known as agent broker, part of the agent fabric solution, where you say, okay, we define certain topics, and these topics are put with a boundary. This could be a domain, but also a subdomain, where agents are built. And these agents are mapping to that topic which you have defined here. And the boundary is put across these agents. And you have a governing entity, which is again another agent. This is the broker agent, which can talk the same language, A to A, but it is allowing the direct communication. So every agent is only talking to the broker. There is no agent to agent interaction between the boundary agents. Only this governing entity is talking to the agent directly, gets the response, take the response and send it to the next agent if needed, or even to another broker to answer whatever the user is requesting. And this is something which the agent fabric with the agent broker does quite well. So you will keep your system building blocks. The whole API led connectivity, I'm pretty sure maybe some experiences will disappear or will be less used, but the process and the system layer is the foundation which will help you to enable the semantics on MCP, and build that agentic layer by specialized agent and the broker with the domain knowledge, to be applied on this. This is an old slide. I should have refined it, but that's, just to explain the concept. So API-led connectivity will continue to exist. Same with data mesh. They will be part or become part of the system building block on a higher level. And then you have to implement these agentic building blocks, which are covering the specialization of ownership for the agents and then going to the domain governance part through the broker. But again, we will end up in the next challenge, which is how do I navigate through these systems? How do I know what is downstream, how order elements are related to invoices, payments, where are these invoices and payment hosted, how can I get history on certain elements, where to find history. So this type of navigation is still something which need to be done, and the promising protocol here is MCP, right? So when we look into, again, the same organization approach, you have different systems. These systems are managing different types of data. But when you build now agents, how should an agent know what is in SAP? You need to describe it somewhere, right? And where can you describe it? The agents are talking MCP. So you need to describe it using something which the agents natively understand, which is the MCP protocol. But again, this description is something which is not always guaranteed because of missing semantics. So you end up in, yeah, uncontrolled action, hallucination, wrong answer, loss of trust, the same challenges which you have. So MCP becomes here a fundamental layer to overcome the challenges of accuracy, um, by providing context. But again, the best practice part is here important. When you build MCP server, you can of course convert the API endpoint to a MCP tool, but will it solve the issue? What happens if you have not described your API endpoint in a way which is meaningful? If you just have fields in your API endpoint calling UUID for a ID field. But how should an agent know what is UUID in this context? So those types of things matter. And in many cases, you will see that the API design and uh, description documentation is need to be even further improved to allow the MCP adoption here. And then we are going to look at it. So bottom line is, yes, the broker and so on, this all makes sense, but again, the missing piece here will be how semantics are translated from agent to domains and even between agent to agent. And this is what we are going to look at right now. What is a good example and what is a bad example? And when we look into our architecture right now, what we need to add, and this is again, this is nothing official, this is part of the research and innovation stream I'm working on. um, we need to add something we refer as semantic layer. I mentioned Data Cloud has an internal semantic layer to provide the understanding between the data cloud model objects, data model objects, and how to relate with them in context of a certain scope. And same need to be done here. A semantic layer need to be established if you don't have data cloud, or if you don't want to do it in data cloud, you need to expose the semantic layer in a product type of mindset where you say, okay, every domain need to make sure they understand and provide the semantics, and they should have the ownership of the MCP tooling, what they want to provide here. So this is the domain semantics which comes into play for the agents to understand what is the context I'm working here. Whenever a request comes in, what do I understand here? Where do I get the data from? And how can I relate to answer the full user's query instead of just pieces of it? Right. So this becomes important. And even going further, semantic is not only needed on the tooling side, but also when an agent is using the semantic layer or the MCP server, they have the skill set. There is an agent card attached to it, which is showcasing all the different skills in a natural language. So these skills are represented through the tools which the MCP is providing. So the semantic layer becomes something which need to be exposed in a way it can be reused from agents to MCP, but also to orchestration and agentic networks, where it will belong in terms of providing the right context at the right time. And semantic layer, of course, it need to translate, right? So when you look into your system architecture, downstream you have the data and capabilities, and upstream is the semantic layer contributing towards the skills of the agents and the roles. So it basically translates the technical structures, the schema of an endpoint, the schema of the database into something which is understood by the entity of an LLM, to provide the context in relationships, how things are interconnected with each other to facilitate autonomous actions by the AI, and ensure that it is coming up with reliability and something which can be trusted. And that's where semantic layer becomes important. It's not just about implementing MCP, because MCP is just technical topic, but decorating MCP with the right semantics is something which matters. And that's where my first demo comes in. But before we go into the demo, I'm pretty sure there are a couple of questions. So from Ajay, again, MCP servers can be created over top of DB file system without the need of APIs. So I believe, yeah, that's 100% right. So if you don't have an API, you don't need to create one. You can just directly connect. MCP is something you can also natively connect to interfaces where you don't have an API. So APIs are reusable when they exist, and then they can contribute to the MCP. But if they are not there, you can directly natively connect.
One question, Samir, for a agent broker, if it is suppose like a sales agent broker, and inside the sales agent, if I have that couple of agent which is running into the on-premise inside the organization, so that can be exposed outside of that one as well with through that agent broker?
So let me repeat and see if I understood. So you have an agent broker, which is for sales, let's say, managing different sales types of agent, and some of these agents are on premise.
Yeah.
And the question is if this is possible to be accessed via on premise.
From the outside, from the different agent which is running into that like a different layer, like suppose like a order agent which is calling to that the sales agent,
Mhm.
and how we'll be defining the, okay, that sales agent cannot be accessed this particular on premise, how we will be defining the access layer like a.
Okay, so that's where policies come in, right? So this is something we are not talking about today, because today was more like the contextual semantic part, but policies on the agent itself. So when you build agents in MuleSoft and you build MCP server in MuleSoft, you can apply different policies in terms of authorization, access control, even highlight tools to expose tools to agents or hide tools from agents based on the credentials you have provided to that specific agent. So that's done through policies. Any other questions?
Samir, I have one question.
Yep, please.
So, in the data mesh, as you represented, it is present on the different layer of API-led connectivity, right? We can build that one.
Yep.
So, theoretically, we can understood, but in practically, should we have any database to persist those productized data, or it would be an dynamic or runtime, similar data graph that help us to do that.
No, you need that data persistent layer encapsulated for that specific data product, because the data need to be preserved somewhere. Yeah? It's an analytical product. So dynamic access of data could be established, but I think it's a very weak technology in terms of latency and performance and even scalability. Um, Things may crash also in transport layers. I think you were referring to data graph, right? So
Yeah.
this is something which goes through the HTTP protocol. So I think you need to have that data persistent layer, and you need to define maybe views on top of that persistent to enable fast access to that data. So it's not just dynamically collecting them from SAP, from Salesforce, because these systems are also in an operational business. They need to be available. So the moment you put load on data for 2 years on SAP, the operational part is affected. That's why you need that persistent layer and have certain SLA defined for that specific data product. It's updated every 2 hours or every day it's updated. That's where the product mindset comes in. Whenever you are building data products, what is the way it is updated when analytical requirements need to be met?
Thanks.
My pleasure. All right, so the use case first, let's look into not semantically enabled MCP. And the demo which I will be showing to you is all on GitHub available. Yeah, so I will also show you the GitHub repository so you can download it from there. But the use case is simple. We have three systems. We have Salesforce, SAP, and MongoDB. I'm using here mocked APIs behind the scenes just to be open. One is a data product. The other two are APIs. The first one is getting me account details. I put an account name in, it will return some account details like account ID, email, created at. Then I have the second one, which is returning to me order details based on a provided account ID, right? So these two can be potentially linked with each other, because here I enter a name, account name, it will give me account ID back. I can take the account ID to get all the order details back. And finally, I can take the order ID to retrieve the order history events, whatever has been moved there. For simplicity, I've taken here also for the demo purposes. I don't want to query a big database and wait until it respond to me. Just to highlight the use case and the problem, we are using mocked data behind the scenes. So what I did is I created this MCP server and try to minimize it from the documentation point of view. And the MCP server is called orders or customer orders. And this is what we are going to see at right now. So you know this, you have seen this is a demo application I built recently just for that specific use case. To whenever you are building MCP server in MuleSoft, you can add them here. Yeah, you can. This is a Mule app, by the way, where we have added the UI on top of it. It's available on GitHub. This is the agent space, right? So where I can say, yeah, I want the agent mode. You have also some technical AI specific mode, which we are not going to touch upon today, but there's a detailed video on it, which explains each of these. As a provider, I want to take OpenAI, but I can also switch between, and I have the Open AI GPT-4o model. Nothing special here, but this is the agent mode which I have. So you can see also if I say like, what's the capital of Switzerland? It will come up with Bern. Probably this is the first start. Yeah. So you can see here capital is Bern. So on the MCP server side, you can see there's no MCP server. So if I say get account details for Acme company, you will see it doesn't have access to these types of things. So it's a there's no tool available. I cannot help you. I don't have access to any type of system. So you can say, okay, I already built that MCP server, so I'm going to add it. This is my MCP server. It says without semantics. And let me add it and show you what it means without semantics. The minimize documentation. I have 3 tools. You can see first tool in this order. Normally the first tool is get accounts, retrieves account details, parameters. You can see required string, account name. The account name to retrieve account information. Second tool, order details, retrieve order details, parameter UUID integer, the ID to retrieve order details. This is the documentation, right? And here order history, retrieve order history data, the ID to retrieve order history for. So it's also the UUID. Now we as human, we would probably understand how to use it, right? So if I want to get order history events for Acme company, it need to call this one first, then it will go to the order details, and then it will go to the order history. So as I've added this server right now, it should have access to it. So I can now say get, let's say, let's start simple. Get account details for Acme company. So it should use that MCP server and tell me exactly what it did. So you can see it got me the account details. That's good. It used the first tool, which is get accounts, right? So I can now continue. Let me copy this here. Get account details. Once account ID is retrieved, use the account ID to retrieve order details. Now, just for the sake of, let me fire it and then we come back. For the sake of understanding, what I want to do is I want it to call the account detail, get the account ID, and then call with the ID this order details. Let's see what it does. So here you can see it already did it. So we have the account details, the order details, 2 tools used. Here it retrieved the account details, and finally it used the account details to retrieve the order details. There's one order, as I mentioned, it's a mocked one. So far so good. Now I can even further copy and say, once the order details are retrieved, use the order ID to get order history events. So let's see what it does. So now my target is to go again first to this tool, then get the order details, get the order IDs, and use the order IDs to retrieve the order history events. That's what I want to achieve here. And we can see currently it's still in the process, but here it got it. You see all 3 tools used. The first one, account ID, used the account ID to get the order details, and then use the order ID to get the details. So, and it used all the three tools in the right order, and it used it because I described it like this. That's a developer language, right? So that's someone who designed this MCP server. A business person who will be using such an agent will never use this type of language, because simply they doesn't know what is downstream. They doesn't know that there are different types of APIs. A business user would ask like, get order history events for Acme company. This is what a business user would ask. And let's see how this is being reflected by the agent, because the agent has just these tools and it doesn't get the guidance through my prompt, right? So it says here for this one, the business view, it says, okay, I retrieved the account ID, but then the order history events couldn't be retrieved. You see what happened? It called the get accounts tool, got the ID, and then tried to use this ID in the order history events. And that's the wrong approach, because this MCP is not semantically enabled. That's what happened to the agent. This agent is, or this MCP server can only perform when there is a technical persona talking to the agent. And this technical persona need to really tell exactly what need to happen. But here, this is not how a business user would use it. The business user will simply want to know what are the order history events for a certain account, and then the agent need to handle it. With this current server, it's not possible, right? So we need to go back here. And but before I continue, the second demo will fix this issue, and we will see how we fix it. Any questions? Did you understood what I just did with the MCP server?
Yes, Amit. Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
just one thing, like I mean, the tools which you are like showing, so that is the some customization, or it is available for the end user to use it.
this tool, let me share it. So there is something, on GitHub. I can paste it here. So there is an example app, and this tool is a Mule application, nothing special. It's let me see, which one is it? It's MCP catalog playground. This
Okay.
is the Mule application. You can see here it's fully documented, right, with
Okay.
demo video tutorial how to set it up. I will paste this link in the chat so you have access to it, but
Okay.
still you can play around with it later. Let's
Okay.
continue on this to see how you can make it semantically enabled, right? So, and this semantic is very important, and this is also why I believe we should not just take one-to-one API resources, convert to MCP tools, make a little bit more out of it. Same approach, yeah, 3 endpoints, all 3 mocked, but now I'm providing a semantic YAML in the implementation. It's something custom I did, but it will end up with something like, tool description. I'm describing the name of the tool, what is the schema, and how the dependencies are in the tool. So this tool depends on an order ID, which is dependent on another tool on the same MCP server. Then I'm describing the second tool and the third tool with some additional decoration, semantic decoration for the agent to have additional context. And then I'm building this MCP server. It's the same technical implementation, but different in the way I'm organizing. So when we go back here into our demo, I will delete this MCP server. And now I will add the new one. I think I need to refresh because sometimes it caches it. So we say it's again the orders, but this time I will say with semantics, and you put the Cloud Hub URL, right? And this time when I open it, you see this is where I have some placeholders which are coming into the place. So retrieve the order details, the account details, then I'm providing the dependency here. The account name is needed for this tool. Other tools to consider, there is no tool to consider. This is the description, order history described in detail, right? Dependency, order ID. The UUID is the order ID. It should understand, the agent should know what is the UUID, We know it, we are human, but the agent cannot know it. So it tried to apply some logic it has. So UUID parameter in this case, in this tool stands for order ID. In the order details, it's different. It's the same name of the parameter, but here it stands for account ID. So this is a semantic part which is needed in order to translate the meaning to the agent. And if we go now here and say, okay, I lost it, but let me go straight to the point. Get order history events for Acme company. This is a business user asking. He will not know about the downstream complexity and how things are interconnected with each other. That's the developer's job, but there is a semantic understanding needed, which in some cases the developer may not have. And the AI engineer need to provide this semantic to the downstream systems, so the agent which will be discovering this can understand it. So you can see this time it understood and called all three tools. The first tool exposed the account ID. The second tool exposed the order ID here, and then this order ID was used to expose the order history events. And that's how the semantic should be enabled for certain agents or tooling downstream to allow the business to get the benefit from it. Of course, I can also write here the same, like get account ID from for Acme company once retrieved. Yeah, but I don't need to, right? This is something developer sentence. You need to put that knowledge, what the developer is writing in a prompt, you have to put it in the description in a meaningful way, so the agent knows exactly, okay, I have to call this if I want to get account ID for our account name. And if I want to you get the order history events, I cannot use the account ID here, because the parameter say this is the UUID stands for order ID. And you have to decorate it in a way the agents can understand the meaning out of it, and then it is semantically enabled. Right, so this tool is not just for this purpose. You can use it basically for any type of MCP you want to test. Yeah, you can. I have other MCP servers as well. Like this is the MCP server for my ERP. You can see here in the tools, the ERP MCP server, it has submit order, explicitly described each parameter here. Okay, it's pretty much clear. I didn't do a good job. Get inventory, you can see material number is the input, submit order delivery. This is all provided here. And I need to just get rid of this one. Make sure it's gone, refresh. It should save it. Yeah, it's still there. So now I can say get inventory for mule test 0. And now it will go into SAP to get the inventory for mule test 0. And this is my live SAP environment, right? So you can see here exactly how it did it. It discovered the tool from the edit MCP server and then provided it here. So this is how it is working behind the scene. You can use this application to add any type of tool which is behind the scene, and then use it for your purpose directly. So with that, I think that is the last part of my presentation. Yeah, any questions?
Amir, that dependency you have shown, like we are supposed to add. So it should be part of the descriptions, or it should be the schema where we are defining, like while building this MCP server.
Both. So on one hand, you have to describe the MCP tool itself. What is
Mhm.
the MCP tool? Yeah, so this is here. This is the
Yeah,
description of the MCP tool. And
right.
then you have to provide a schema, right? In the schema, you have to describe SSL. Here in this case, I didn't do a good job, but here you can see the parameter you need
Okay,
to also describe.
okay,
And then it is the context awareness, right? Here is also not a good job.
Mhm. Okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay. Understood. Yeah. Thanks.
right. Pleasure.
Yeah, hi. I have a question. So for the MCP servers, uh, we have built. Let's if I take another use case, let's say uh, checking for the flights. So let's imagine we have right now I'm connecting to one of my third party, which gives me the flight itineraries. Today I have built everything like get the a number of the flights and book the flight, all those things. Tomorrow there is some other third party which says I'm giving the flights at a very cheaper rate. So I want to just plug in that one in the same way that you did. So at that time again I need to go back and enable everything as we did, do the semantics and everything, or is there any easy way that MCP server can just give us plugin options? Just plug it and don't worry about the mappings and these things.
Exactly. So that's actually, Takshak Gamare also wrote, is it similar to agent card? Because on the agent card, you have very similar semantics, which showcases you the skills and the semantic currently in the MCP server. You're right, they are hard coded. Yeah. So when you are adding a new server with similar things, you need to provide that semantic again. So what I did in my implementation, I created a YAML file, yes, and uh, put it on Design Center, and I tried to use that YAML file to reuse the semantics. But now currently I showcase this also to product, so they are looking at it. I don't know what will be the solution, but this is something where we will definitely think about how to improve it. Currently, it's exactly like you are mentioning, Sandeep. That you add a new server, you have to put the semantic in the implementation again. The alternative scenario would be you say, okay, you keep the tool, but if there is a new provider for cheaper flights, you add this API in the tool, so you don't need to apply the semantics, but it's another API which the MCP tool is calling next to the one you had before, and then you need to collect all the tools and just qualify out the the range of flights which are not cheap.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
You're welcome. Any other questions? All right. So if you don't have questions, I think Jackie and Nitish, you have questions to the community because
Yeah.
there's this quiz.
Yeah. First of all, thanks, Amir. This was a really a wonderful session. Like, you have covered a lot of things and it will be definitely useful for everyone. Like, it was really a fantastic session, Amir. Yeah.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And thanks for the invitation. It's an honor to be part of the 100 meetup session. Yeah.
Yeah, like when we are doing the 100 MuleSoft meetup, the first name came in our mind and Niti's mind is Amir Khan. So
Thank you.
we directly reach you, right? So yeah, thanks for accepting our request, without hesitating, like, and you simply said yes, and we are able to do the 100 MuleSoft meetup. Thanks
Yeah.
for that, Amir.
Thank you. Thank you.
And sorry, one last thing, Amir Khan, we are fan of your YouTube channels, MuleChan AI. Please do contribute, and we are enjoying that.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for this feedback, Sandeep.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, Sandeep. Yeah. So, guys, before we start quiz, I would like to take one picture. Like, it's 100 mules of meetup. I will request everyone to on the camera. So yeah, like, it will be good if you can on the camera. Yeah. Hi, Anand. Finally, we can see Ravi on the screen. Yeah, guys. Like, I'll wait for more 10 seconds. If anybody want to on the camera, they can do that. Yeah, hi, Abhishek. Yeah, yeah. You look cool. Don't worry.
Hey Amir, hi.
Hey, Abhishek.
Okay. I took the picture. Yeah. Okay. So now I'll give the control to Nitish. So Nitish, like, yeah, you can start with the quiz. So first, what
Sure.
quiz you are taking?
So first, so I've shared the rules in the chat that there'll be three round of quiz. First, we'll ask five questions for vouchers, and then five questions for MuleSoft T-shirt, and at the end there'll be two questions for Jackie's book. So uh, let's be all ready for that. And I'm sure you'll be happy to see the questions. And someone who been like so attentive will definitely answer. So
So
okay, before
like
I
for each
Also, like,
question, for each question, we will select three people. First three people who